Hey guys, it's Jim with a quick pre-show PSA. You've probably heard about my diet bet, and we are launching another one. It's going to be going live on June 5th, and if you'd like to be a part of it, come on down to PodTherapy.net, and you will see somewhere in the feed a link to the bet. If you'd like to join us, jump on in and lose your money or lose some weight. It's up to you.
That was a good Patreon. That was a really fun Patreon.
Reminiscent.
Yeah.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. We would like to officially announce the launch of the Pod Therapy cryptocurrency Tweed Coin. Rumor has it will soon be accepted as an accepted form of currency by Jacob Smith as payment for studio time. That's just what people are saying.
That's what I've heard.
And now, broadcasting from the
That'll
Churn,
boost the value.
that guy is Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Crypto. This is the biggest scam. But people are making their fortunes. It's amazing. All these people. There's somebody that you and I mutually know the other day on Instagram, like Elon Musk had done something. It was like, oh, Dogecoin or Doggy Coin or whatever.
Dogecoin.
Yeah, that thing. And I'm laughing like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And this person commented and said, thank you, Elon Musk, for making me a Dogecoin millionaire. And so I messaged this person, and I was like later, I was like, hey, I saw your thing about that. What's the deal? And they were like, yeah. They were like, I bought a shit ton of Dogecoin and all these other ones a long time ago, and I am a millionaire now. And I was like, congratulations. And they were like, yeah. And they explained like their whole strategy. They were like, I'm going to ultimately sell it in 2025. I'm letting it ride, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow.
Then they're not a millionaire.
I don't know what their story is.
If they have money still in Dogecoin,
Then it's gone?
no, then they are not a millionaire.
Because they haven't sold it yet.
They haven't sold it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's unrealized potential.
Right.
So I'm with you. If you want to launch a crypto.
Doesn't that count towards your net worth, though?
I don't, yes.
Oh, yeah, whatever
If
you
you
have,
own
whatever the
it.
value of it is at that moment, I think that counts towards your net worth.
Yeah.
So they would be a
But
millionaire.
something that is as volatile as any cryptocurrency. I mean, like, what? 3 days
goes
ago,
up and down. Yeah.
Tesla announced that they would not be accepting Bitcoin anymore. And Bitcoin,
Plummeted.
I think, lost, it was like $16,000
Oh, wow.
a coin that
Yeah.
day.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
way
I think it
volatile.
was something like 30-something% drop that day.
Well,
Yeah.
this is why I'm going to
Like,
stick to
it's so
therapy.
volatile.
I don't know.
Yeah, it
anything
is.
about
It's
it.
very...
Yeah,
And I'm not
no
saying
clue.
don't invest in it.
Right.
But I'm
No,
just saying,
no.
like
Invest
until you get your
everything
money,
you have in it. That's
until
what we're
you get your
telling you.
money
to do.
out of
Sell
it,
your house.
like,
buy Dogecoin.
I've got a little bit in Bitcoin and a little bit in Ethereum.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Ethereum's
exciting.
Ethereum's up quite a bit.
That just sounds sexy.
Yeah.
I just opened up my Coinbase. I think that's what it's called. The app
Coinbase.
Yeah.
that you buy it on. I was like, what's it at right now? Let's see.
Wow.
Like Dogecoin is up today.
Oh, wow. Do you both buy crypto coin? Or whatever
yeah,
those things are?
Just those two. That's it. I'm
I'm going to be honest. Ethereum sounds like a street drug.
I have some Dogecoin now.
Yeah.
Ethereum.
Ethereum is...
Hey, man. Hey, can you hook me up?
Well,
can
wasn't
you hook
it-
me up with some Ethereum?
Wasn't that a
Shut
Matt
up, man.
Damon
Are you a
movie?
cop? Are you a cop?
Maybe.
I think Ethereum was a Matt Damon movie.
Yeah, that's right. That
be.
feels right.
Yeah.
Maybe we should stick to therapy stuff since we don't know crap
I
about
suppose.
investing. But anyway, welcome back, friends. We are excited to have you. I believe this is the first episode of June, isn't it, Nick?
Sure.
Yep. Yay.
It is, yes.
Welcome to the summer, everybody. So excited to have you and some really fun things to talk about. If you are not a patron, go to patreon.com/therapy and listen to the extra hour of the show because today was a good dive. Today was a deep dive into the near-death experiences we've had as therapists, why a lot of therapists actually carry guns. And soon, coming this summer, Therapy, the movie, starring action hero. Who is the go-to action guy right now?
What I think it's it's what's his name from Better Call Saul and everything.
Oh,
What?
yeah.
Who? Is this?
Somebody screaming
Yeah.
right into their radio.
I'm aware of better
The
than
nobody, Bob Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk, yep.
Who's
There you go.
that? This is an action hero now?
Well, he has an action movie out right now
Oh.
that's apparently doing pretty well. I still haven't seen it. I keep forgetting to watch it.
Okay. I
But
can't
the Nobody,
do action
I think,
movies.
is his.
Oh,
is
yeah,
his
yeah,
movie
yeah.
that's out.
Yeah, people are talking about that.
Yeah,
It's
he
just
was
a fun romp.
He was a key character on Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And then he
Got
had
a
a spin-off show, Better Call Saul, which
Yeah.
is wonderful.
Yeah.
And because he's a jerk, decided that having 2 of the best television shows ever was not enough.
Yeah, yeah.
He's also going to become an action movie star now.
Just doing it. Just continue being awesome.
And like his what 40s or 50s.
Oh, good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's just cleaning
He's
up right now.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, I'm just doing my life. I always love it when somebody breaks out later in life. You know, like and you think like you see these key actors that like all of a sudden are the best thing that's ever happened. Like,
Well, and he was a writer on SNL.
Oh, was he?
in the SNL in the 90s?
Oh, wow.
In like the big time for like Farley and
Oh,
Sandler
wow.
and all those guys. Rock.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always love it when somebody just breaks out and like they've been doing the Hollywood life this whole time. They were working through their 20s, waiting tables, never made it. Finally got some random gig, and then everybody fell in love with them, and like there they are.
Yeah.
Now they're the best thing that's ever happened.
George Burns.
George
Yeah.
Did he launch late in life?
Oh yeah, he was like 70 or something when he like started.
When he hit.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he just did like you just do stand up comedy for 60 years, and
And
then
then
you
all of
just
a
get
sudden-
better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people discover you all of a sudden, and they're like, "This is the best thing ever." I
Yeah.
saw some video of Ron White. Do you know that comedian,
Yeah,
Ron
yeah.
White
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
Blue Collar Comedy Tour?
Yeah.
And it's Ron White in Vegas, and he had to be 30 years old and just young, clean. And he's telling the same jokes that he did in the Blue Collar. Like, it's like the story of him getting thrown out of a bar and things like that. And it's word for word delivered exactly the same.
Right.
He's playing to maybe 7 people.
It just didn't work until he was 45.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
he's sitting there with his martini and his whiskey glass and his cigar, and he's got like this whole other image. But yeah, young him, he's like wearing like a Hawaiian t-shirt and like khakis, and just like totally different. But yeah, caught on later on. So
So
hang in there.
there's still hope for us.
yeah, I'm gonna keep swinging at the stand-up comedy.
I think when we're 75, this pod therapy thing will take off.
I think that's when it's gonna hit. Yeah, I think we're just gonna cruise along, and then all of a sudden people are gonna be like, "Have you heard this show with these 2 idiot therapists?" It's a win. So, speaking of the
There's
show about
nothing
the
that
idiot
terrifies
therapists,
me more than just plugging along as a stand-up comedian.
oh,
Like, it
I'm
just sounds
hoping-
terrible.
Yeah.
No, just keeping up that it's a hard life, man.
Stand-up
Yeah.
comedy is hard.
That's a really hard life. Just grinding it out, club after club.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, I'm sure it's a rush, but especially when you're playing for small audiences, like that's got to be.
I don't think it's always a rush. I think
No.
it's a rush when it's good,
Yeah.
and when it's bad, it's just getting hit in the face over and over again.
Ugh. Well,
And it's usually bad.
that's why I got out of the game. That's why I did
that-
this whole
that's why?
therapist thing. That was it. Yeah.
Not the whole not funny part. huh?
No. Well, that didn't help.
Has that ever deterred him?
Yeah. Do you know me?
Did lack of talent get him out of the game? Nope.
No. He was completely unaware of that. No. He got too lazy. Nope. All right, first question that we've got today is on the kinkier side. So trigger warning, today's episode is going to be dealing with some sexy stuff. Remember, we are an explicit podcast, so if you are listening with
Fuck
kiddos...
yeah.
Yep, there you go. That was your warning. That was your warning. So if you got kiddos in the car, turn it off. Now
I'm about to say worse things.
Yeah, it's about to get weird.
Here it comes. Fuck.
You were warned. We
Twice
warned
as
you.
bad.
We warned you. If your kids are still listening, that is on you. All right. So the first question is titled "Breeding Kink," and this one actually comes with instructions of how to read the question. It says, "In a Jerry Seinfeld impression, breeding kinks. What's the deal with those? Why does my girlfriend have one? Love the show. Love Jacob's advice. Love Jim's gambling problem." Slash skills.
That was your Jerry Seinfeld impression?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, I know.
I have no idea what the email just said because I was just
So
blown
distracted by the
away.
glory. Yeah, it's just, I know. I could be sued for identity theft for how good I am at it, I think.
Yeah.
Easily.
Nailed it.
Easily. Yeah, it's like he's right here. So what's the deal with that? What's the deal with breeding kinks? Why does my girlfriend have that? That was the best question. That was a one-sentence
That would
question.
sound like the B-52s guy.
Love Shack.
Got in a car with a girlfriend with breeding kinks.
Love Shack, baby. And that is essentially what this question's about, Nick. The breeding kink love shack.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Maybe you should start by explaining to
start?
the vanilla audience what the breeding kink is.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I
read
don't
the
know
question. You
how
do
much
that.
explaining there is.
I think it
it's
needs to be explained. Some people don't know. Not everybody's on the same websites you're on, Nick.
okay. It's
Tell me what it is, 'cause I'm unclear.
Yeah,
no,
Jacob
you're
doesn't know.
not. God,
Let's see your browser history. Let's see how
not.
Trying to help you out here.
No one's unclear what this
getting
means.
a softball one, man.
Tossing it to you.
If you do, then just Google it.
No, don't Google it. Don't type that in.
Yeah,
Don't
just
do it.
What is
That's
it?
fine.
Don't do it.
We're about to talk about it. What is it?
Okay, so for
For the innocent members of the
Jill,
audience,
what is it?
For all of you from Iowa, let me explain.
Oh yeah, please.
Breeding kink. I'm not doing it. No, I like watching Nick struggle
Okay.
with this. I could do it in a
Essentially,
second. It's more
just
fun
a
watching him do it.
sexual fantasy, enjoying watching porn with breeding.
That was
There you go.
horrible.
We don't have to explain this.
You know what? I want to
okay?
start a whole
This
new
is dumb.
podcast where Nick explains kinks, and we find out
This
if he
is
doesn't
dumb.
know what they are.
This is dumb.
great.
Here's the thing.
His discomfort is visible, audience.
No, I
love
just want to
this.
move this along. Let's
You're
answer
doing-
the question.
You're doing great. I'm having the best show ever.
Okay.
You keep doing this. I'm just
So-
going to stare at you.
The question that's important here with this
It's people
is
having
that-
sex with no birth control and with the danger of being able to get pregnant.
That's what they,
There you
or intentionally trying to. That's
Right.
the idea. Like, yeah, it's a
Or
turn
like
on.
maybe one
to
party
get
is
pregnant.
trying to get pregnant, the other party is trying to keep
Yes.
the person from getting pregnant but still having sex. And
Yeah, it's a turn
it's
on.
all of that.
about
Right.
being impregnated.
You see
That's
how
the
easy
idea.
that was, Nick?
Yes.
You did
Thank
fine.
you. Thank you. You did great. You did better than I could have done. So
It's fun to watch him
I don't know
squirm.
why we
It's
had.
fun.
I don't know why that was so difficult.
I love the visible discomfort. Continue. This is the best. Also, everybody send kink questions. Nick's going to forever be the guy who has to answer them.
Okay.
Yeah, just address them to Nick.
Yeah, that's all I want to do now. I just want to watch him squirm. Go on, Nick.
So, all right. So, I mean, ultimately, the question: why does your girlfriend have these? Why? That's a hard question to answer. I think the real question underneath of this question is kind of more of like a concern: is this strange or is this odd that she
Right.
has this?
The writer
kink?
seems
right.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. It's why do any of us have any kind of
Right.
sexual kinks? I don't know. I don't know the
Right.
reason behind that. I don't think it's anything to be worried about. It's nothing unhealthy. It's nothing alarming.
No.
It just is what it is. Does it mean something? I think that's kind of the other question
Right.
is what does it mean if she has this kink?
Mm,
I don't necessarily think it means anything.
right.
It doesn't, could he be worried? He may
Other
be
than
worried about like, right. Would he be worried about like, oh, does she want to have kids? Well, not necessarily. Having that kink doesn't necessarily mean you want to have children.
Right.
It means something in the same way that anything that any of us do anytime means something.
Right.
Like if I prefer to use one burner on the stove over another burner, like that means something.
That is my kink.
but it is.
Yeah.
But but it can be just a completely boring nothing burger
Is
of a
it
thing.
relevant to anything?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm a front right burner kind of guy.
I would say, so am I.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the one. That's just the one.
I would say it probably doesn't mean anything relevant
Significant.
to your relationship.
Yeah.
Or probably nothing you need to be concerned about. And here's the other thing too. If your girlfriend is into that, don't shame it.
Yeah.
Be open to it.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot in a relationship to open up about something that you are sexually interested in. And if she volunteers that information and she opens up about it and it's met with, oh, that's weird. Oh, you're a freak.
Right.
Then you're
That's-
never going to hear about anything else.
Exactly. Then you forget ever learning anything else about her sexually. You're
That's
done
very
because
true.
she's going to shut down. You will never advance beyond that point. So whatever gets expressed, you have to be open to that. Don't
Right.
shame it. If you're curious about it, you can ask questions, whatever, but just do so in a non-threatening, non-judgmental way.
As much as you can. I will point out that generally we've gotten questions on the show before about sexual appetites and things like that, and we're happy to weigh in. And
We didn't know that we needed to punt all of them over to Nick. Before
Yeah,
now.
no, now I know they're funneling right to his desk. That's always going to happen. God, that's so much fun to watch him try to answer that. But I will point out that this particular kink it does have the potential for very serious consequences, and that needs to be considered.
Like a
What?
baby.
Okay.
Like a child. And so that is part of the kink, and it depends on, the people that kind of get into this in that community. There are variations of how this is done. It's not that they are trying to just pretend and simulate, like, what if I got pregnant? It's the actual high risk of it that is part of the turn on. And some of them, they practice after birth control, like abortion, as a way to respond to this, and they don't carry to term, and that could be part of the turn on. So this is a consequential thing. It can definitely have real...
so I was looking at this more from like a pornography perspective. Like if you enjoy
that's
watching porn.
I caught that in your answer, and that's what
That
caught
is not
me.
what I got from the email.
No, and that's
Oh.
also not what it is. And so like that's
what do you
why
mean
I
that's
laughed.
not what it is?
That's
That
not
is-
what the
Well, that
breed-
is.
No, it can
That
be.
is a part of it.
That can certainly be part of it.
Right.
That can be all that it is. That might be all
If
that it
I
is.
told you that if a person said, I have a BDSM fetish, and you heard that, and your first thought is, that means they specifically watch BDSM pornography.
It could be.
You're missing the point of what they just told you. Like, that's probably also true.
No, but
that's
you can't.
secondary.
No, I wouldn't say it's secondary. You can't dismiss it as secondary
Okay,
right off the bat.
I think the writer is not. I don't think the writer is saying my girlfriend watches porn that is intimidating to me.
I think they might be.
I
think it's possible.
That's not what this is. This writer is saying my girlfriend is interested in the breeding kink, and that means the risk of having a child. She wants to have sex with me with the potential of getting pregnant. In fact, would like me to try to do that. And that can be very consequential and emotional.
Sure.
And there's a lot here.
Right.
It's the Russian roulette of the thing. That's the turn on. It's the excitement of this could happen, and that is the turn.
I'm not disagreeing with your answer. I'm
Okay.
disagreeing with your pushback that my answer was insufficient.
It was terrible. I'm just going to go. Your answer is fine, but your interpretation of what breeding is was wrong, which we all
It's
knew it was
not
going to
wrong.
be. It was going to
It's
be wrong.
not wrong.
Immediately,
Jesus.
everybody knew that. Like,
Okay, go
as I
on.
was reading the question, people were like, "Well, Nick doesn't know what this is."
It's amazing how I can team with Jim for a moment
And then
against
I
Nick,
lose him.
and then Jim just does something like this, where I'm like, okay, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
I always have Jacob for microseconds. He'll be with me like, "No, Jim's never mind. I regret even saying what I said."
Yeah.
So I will say that
What
breeding,
Nick just answered is a perfectly legitimate answer, and might be all that it is.
I don't think
but
so.
Shut up for a second. And I'll finish the sentence that you want me to finish.
Go on.
But we should address the other end of it as well, as it is possibly not just a pornography thing. It might be a part of life.
Yes.
So, Jim, part of life.
Yes, I and that's my concern. So
Take my fucking referee shirt off
nothing
now.
wrong
I
with it.
know, we need a moderator.
I know,
Thank you for
seriously.
stepping in.
Arbiter.
That role.
That's what he is. Justice comes from Jacob. Judge Jacob. So yeah, I think that, obviously I agree with Nick that we don't want to kink shame. And I also want you to know that, writer, you are also allowed to have boundaries in your sexuality. And as we all can, and while we want to be receptive and listening to our partner about what they're interested in, what turns them on, and what gets them excited, that doesn't mean that you have no choice in the matter, especially with this particular kink, as this could cause you to have a child with this person, which is a lifetime decision. And so, you need to approach this with a sober mind about, how you want to, okay, this turns this person on, that's fine. But definitely think carefully about yourself, your own health, and also, your choices of your life, because this is a kink that can result in having children. That's part of the turn on, and that's a permanent choice.
And now, one thing I have heard, when women specifically are the ones who have this kink, something that I have heard of their male partners doing so that they can still exercise this kink is to basically get a secret vasectomy.
And then not tell it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, not telling is part of the secret.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like it was
So it's
right
one of
there.
those secrets that
I felt like
you-
it was right there in my
To
description.
be clear, it's a secret you don't tell other people. Oh, I like those kinds of secrets. Those are exciting.
No, I mean, if this is like a serious long-term relationship, that would be something to be concerned
Exactly.
about, obviously, because then it's like, because those aren't easily reversible.
Oh, vasectomies?
Yeah. If this is someone you hope to marry one day and
Yeah.
Right.
and then have children with.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But it's the Michael Scott from The Office thing. I had a vasectomy, and then you decided you wanted to have kids, so I had the vasectomy reversed.
Yeah.
And then I had a different vasectomy.
Yeah. Got the hat
Do you know what
trick.
that's like?
Yeah.
Just go get a vasectomy and reverse.
Oh,
and get
that's
another
right.
Vasectomy.
I remember that. That was funny. Also, if you want to hear my vasectomy story, go to patreon.com/therapy. Go into the archives. There's even a comic strip about it. It is the stuff of Pod Therapy.
Actually, all you want is the comic strip.
You really just want, I think you just watch the comic. Go to Pod Therapy Comic at Instagram.
Trust me on this one.
You could just scroll through and find Kate's rendition of my vasectomy. It was on point. So
yeah.
Anyway,
Jim's vasectomy
writer.
story is not a good Patreon selling point.
Yeah. What's the deal with breeding kinks? Thank you, writer, for writing in and making us talk about this. I've enjoyed it. This is a great segment. We are. Oh, I'm going to do it inside of. We're going to take a quick break. I guess that's not what he sounds like.
No, you're absolutely into the B-52s guy.
Yeah, it's the Love Shack, baby. You know, I'm going to lean in on that.
We're going to take a quick break. It's as big as a whale.
When we return, we're talking about the future of mental health. Now I think I'm like the New York accented, like advertise. I don't know, like the.
No, what you're
Carney
doing now
caller.
is not an impression.
Okay.
Of anything.
We're still going to take a break. When we come back, we're talking about the future of mental health. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, Dr. Ben Don, Scott Jameson, and Richard Macy. Would you like to sponsor the show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. All right, this week's trivia theme in honor of our therapy producers is Trivial Pursuit 20th Anniversary Edition. I've made all of these multiple choice because I know you guys are not going to get any of these if they're not.
Wow, your faith is so low.
It is. I can't, yeah. It's lower than you imagine.
I was telling Jacob before we taped today that if I would have lost last month's mental health version of this, I would have brought him my doctorate. And I would have let him keep it in.
No, you wouldn't
I would have done it. I would have done it.
You can say that now because it didn't happen.
That's true.
All right, here's the question.
I also would have given him $1 million.
What Dallas company claims its $280,000 a year salary sales director produced more wealthy women than any other company?
Huh?
Is it A, Revlon, B, Mary Kay, C, American Airlines, or D, Leah Sophia?
I know.
If you'd like to join the therapy producers that make the show possible, go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. Again, that's patreon.com/therapy.
I need you to repeat that question.
Yeah, the part about his salary was off. Like
What Dallas company claims its $280,000 a year sales directors' salaries produced more wealthy women than any other company?
So they're saying the sales director who are they saying
their salaries?
Oh, they
salaries
tend to,
for the sales directors are $280,000 a year.
And
and
those
they're
are women.
claiming that produced more wealthy women than any other company.
And the answers were
Revlon, Mary Kay, American Airlines, Leah Sophia.
I mean, I'm thinking Mary Kay, right?
Is that your answer?
I think so, because Mary
First of all, we should decide what we're betting on this.
Oh, no, we're not betting Jack, because there's no way I'm right. But I'm going with Mary Kay because that's
the
one.
How about that Masters of Divinity degree?
Yeah.
Is that this month?
I'll have to go get one real quick. I think it's Mary Kay because that's the one where it's like a legit thing, but like it's also kind of a MLM, those things.
MLM.
Multi-level marketing.
That one. Yeah. Major League.
As is Leah Sophia.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going Mary Kay. That feels right.
Okay.
I don't think they have. Mary Kay is the one that stands out to me.
Yeah. Is that the pink Cadillac one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one where they get the car.
I didn't know they had salaries, but
Well,
for like a
director.
sales director, might I guess.
I mean, that's good money. $280,000. I got turned off by that word wealthy. When I think wealth, I think because Chris Rock has convinced me that wealth is the guy who signs the NBA players' checks.
Yeah.
He used to say, like, Shaq is rich. The guy who writes Shaq's check is wealthy. So now I don't think of wealth the same way.
So it's Revlon, Mary Kay,
American Airlines,
Leah
Sophia.
So 3 makeup companies and an airline. Don't pick the airline. That is not going to be the answer.
I don't know why. I don't know why American Airlines
The
would
cosmetics branch of American Airlines.
Well, I
don't know why they would have all-female sales directors either.
Yeah, it's got to be a makeup company.
It's a Dallas-based company.
But that's what I'm saying. I think it's got to be Mary Kay because you say that to attract more people into the MLM. That's why you say that. So I think that's what it is.
I'll go D just to be different.
Yeah.
Leah Sophia.
Yeah.
What was it?
It is Mary Kay.
There you go.
Ah! It was not American Airlines.
Yeah.
Surprised nobody.
I didn't know they had
Surprised nobody.
salaries at any level.
Good for them.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Good for them. And if any of you are part of Mary Kay and you'd like to send us
A pink Cadillac?
cosmetics or a pink Cadillac, send it on in. You can we'll take it gladly.
Yeah, every now and then out here in Vegas, I see a pink Cadillac driving along. And go,
yeah.
There's Mary
Good for
Kay
them.
person.
Employee of the month.
Yeah.
Somebody got the pink caddy. Or the Red Bull car. Every time I see the Red Bull, like, that thing is so funny. It's like that little micro car that has like a giant can of Red Bull in the back. And like, apparently you win that. But then I'm thinking, I wouldn't
really?
want to win that. Like, then you
I
have to
didn't know
drive
people
it.
won that.
I didn't
There's like
either.
a deal where you get to drive it for like a year and it's like free to drive, but you're not allowed to alter it or something like that. And so like you get the wheels, but like you're driving the Red Bull mobile. That doesn't seem like a great idea. But then again, maybe that'd be really fun to just cruise around in the Red Bull mobile.
Sure, you would do it.
I would absolutely do it. In fact, I've convinced myself I want to rent it now. The future of mental health. Hi. I recently started listening after seeing your interesting AMA on Reddit. Oh,
Hi
great.
there.
Welcome. It's been very entertaining and insightful to hear you two chat. I'm a college student and hoping to become a therapist in the future. I was wondering whether you can speculate on the future of mental health counseling and therapy. I just saw the news about the CVS pilot program for counseling and support within their stores and via their own telehealth system. Their goal is to reach underserved populations and break the stigma, apparently. It even sounds like other retailers are following suit. I was wondering if this would work and actually make a difference or would have any unintended consequences. How would it impact the field? Any thoughts would be appreciated. Anonymous. Thanks. Oh, wait. Yeah, it is anonymous. Oh, they also sent us a link about that story just to teach us about it. So,
Did you read the story?
No.
So I heard about this on NPR,
Okay.
actually. So, yeah, so it's a kind of a pilot program that CVS started where they actually a couple days a week have a therapist on site.
Oh, wow.
And they will just kind of do, you can, I don't know if it was free or if it was like a significantly discounted rate, but you just have access to a therapist. So you can
Wow.
just go to any CVS
And just walk in.
and yeah, you want to speak to the therapist, you can just go in there and
Little
talk to the
office
therapist.
behind the scenes, and you just
Yeah.
jump in there. Wow.
So I heard about that on NPR, and it was really, I mean, it's in the very early stages. Like I said, it's kind of a pilot program, but I think it's a great idea. I think it will accomplish the message of making therapy more accessible, decreasing the stigma. I feel like we're already kind of on that direction anyway. There's a lot of things happening
Yeah.
in society right now that are helping decrease the stigma. So it's gonna be difficult to say it's this one thing that did it. It will help, along with all the other things that are happening right now to destigmatize mental health.
You know, one thing I love is every time there's like a shooting or something like that, and there is always that push of like, well, it's a mental health problem.
Right.
Now I'm starting to see a secondary push of, great, let's address the mental health problem.
Yeah, exactly.
There is that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, because that was always used as the excuse. Like, oh, well, this
Yeah.
is just mental health. Oh, if that's the case, then let's do something about
Yeah,
it.
please invest in
If
it.
you really believe
Yeah.
that's the case,
If
Yeah.
that's the problem, let's address the problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
put your money where your mouth is
Right.
and let's do something.
Yep.
So I think, it'll definitely help improve access, which I really like. I don't really see any negative consequences to it. The only thing that I'm a little concerned about would be maintaining confidentiality, because that's one thing, like with a therapy clinic that you go to. If you see somebody in a therapy clinic, they're also in the therapy clinic,
Mhm.
you know, so it's not so much of a confidentiality issue. I don't know if it would prevent people from going or seeking help.
Right.
But if it's someplace like a CVS where you
Right.
can easily run into your neighbor or somebody else or a friend or something like that, and you go in to see the therapist, it's a little bit more out in the open. And I know a lot of people yet are still not quite comfortable with a lot of people knowing that they're in therapy.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's
that
definitely
could
going to be a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an obstacle. I don't think it's a big enough obstacle where you'd want to not do it.
Well, the question then becomes, is that, I don't think that's an obstacle necessarily, because if you have a therapist set up in a CVS, then the people who are going to see that therapist are okay with the environment.
Right. No, I'm just saying.
And they possibly might go see a CVS therapist because it's easy, it's convenient,
Yeah.
And they might not take the time otherwise to go set up an appointment and find a therapist on their own and everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it might help some people.
That's true.
And the people who aren't being helped by it because it's not private enough, they're already not getting help anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's another group that has to be reached in some other method.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point. Overall, I think it's positive. I don't see any real negative or downside to it.
I have some negatives.
Okay.
Yeah, that actually kind of bother me about it. So,
Well, first of all, they're setting up in the freezer.
yeah, that doesn't get talked about enough. You know? Yeah.
Still don't see the negative in that.
Seeing as how Vegas
is it any different than
120,
doing therapy in Iowa?
That's true. Yeah, you're sitting in an ice box either way. This is just a nice one. So there's
therapy in
the
Iowa.
future of mental health. Yeah, the future of mental health. I think it's going to be two things simultaneously that are good and bad, and I think that's going to be really difficult. There is this big box action that is now happening in all of healthcare, but it's now touching mental health. Like over the last 15 years, there have been these gigantic corporations that have been buying up the healthcare real estate. So like Kaiser in the West, and like what they're doing is, it used to be your local doctor owned his own practice, and so like your local doc would set up shop in his own offices.
The doctor was a woman.
Oh yeah. I didn't say it was a guy. Oh, I did say it was a guy. Yeah, she would set up her own practice, and so historically, healthcare, the means, those who perform the action, the laborer, in this case the healthcare specialist, usually owned the means of production. And so they owned their own practices, they owned their own clinics, and that was the way it was. Over time, we have watched as healthcare has absorbed all these people and just there's these larger companies now that streamline things. They can be very accessible. And there's this trade, right, where for the healthcare provider, they get to be an employee. They don't have to deal with the stress of running things. They can just show up and get paid. But what has happened, and there's this back kind of conversation that's been happening among healthcare providers, is a lot of ground is being ceded to these companies, and that's creating an interesting problem where the healthcare providers are now losing control over the way this is done. The big companies are now gaining all the influence and control over the disciplines. And I think it can be, difficult. It increases access, but it also is difficult. That's now happening in mental health. So we're seeing Better Help, we're seeing Talkspace, now CVS is getting in the game. Amazon, by the way, has been a big player in buying up healthcare assets and trying to get to a place where like you can use your Prime account to just like they're buying grocery stores. Like they're trying to like make everything really accessible. There's value to that, especially the telehealth thing. People realize you don't need to have a therapy clinic. You can just set everybody up on Zoom or whatever your proprietary thing is, and you can have therapists everywhere, and you can just run the hub. And that's great for access. But
I agree, but I disagree
I
with
didn't hear
one
any
point.
negative.
Here's the negative. The negative side of it, as the staff, as the clinicians, I don't love these gigantic properties controlling all the clinicians. In that sense, I think it can be dangerous for the future of mental health care down the road, for multiple reasons. But I think it's very important that a lot of therapists exist independent of infrastructure.
Sure.
That's important.
Yeah, there's just one piece that I think kind of breaks down as far as the analogy comparing it to other healthcare systems.
Yeah.
Which is access.
Okay.
You don't have a whole lot of problems with access to healthcare like you do access to mental health care.
Oh, you're right.
So
That's true.
So then the question becomes kind of weighing those options.
Yeah.
I mean, is the negative effect of losing control worth that in order to improve access?
It's a good question.
Right, because
yeah, I'm
then,
with you on that.
Because then you could also ask,
is it doing harm?
Right.
Well, no, I don't think it's
it
harmful, but I do think anytime you have a giganto player who starts monopolizing a field, it does become a problem
I
at
totally
some
agree.
point. Yeah.
Totally agree. But I think the other question then you have to ask is, can you improve healthcare, or can you improve access to mental health care without that happening?
Right.
So if you didn't do any of this, are we still limited with very limited access to mental health care?
Right. And
so it's almost kind of like a fee that you're paying. It's kind of like a tax.
Yeah.
Well, let's
you're
think
kind
through.
of paying this to.
Let's think through ways that it could be expanded. That mental health care coverage could be expanded.
Which is a great thing, and that's why I say all the time, like, I'm good with Better Help existing, I'm good with Talkspace existing. CVS started a while ago in the West, I don't know if this is national, these things called minute clinics. And basically, it's a doctor's office. It's a doctor's office run by like an APRN or a PA, and you can walk in and get the basics that you need, and there's a pharmacy attached, and there you go. And I think that was a really cool idea to like bring access to care right to the street corner, and that way, you're not going to this piled up doctor's office. It was very fast, it was efficient, and I'm good with that for therapy.
Our listeners in other countries, Canada, the UK, they're just horrified.
Yeah. They're listening to this like, wait, what? Yeah. So I do think that same concept is going to have a role, right? I want it to exist in the spectrum. My fear is that at some point, if you have these big corporate properties that buy up and control the field, that makes it difficult for independent practitioners to maintain clinical independence, which I think is really important, and also for the viability of the profession. I've talked about the finances on the show before, that mental health is still an undercompensated discipline and profession. That's one of the reasons why there's not enough of it. There's not this huge everybody's not going gangbusters to get into this profession. Right. It's a choice, and you can do fine. But the costs are razor thin to the margins. Like, you got to keep it just right. And what's been happening in the Talkspace world and the Better Help world and all these companies as they get in, they are gigantic corporate entities, and there's a race to the bottom on the wage. Mm-hmm. They pay less than any other place a therapist could work. And that has had a net interesting effect, right? Where, okay, so what kinds of therapists are they attracting? What is the work like? And what is the expectation of care that's being created? Mm-hmm. Are we creating this new lower standard of care because they're so universal and the expectations are so low, and they don't have the same requirements? They don't have this like ethical dilemmas of like not turning people away. They're just like, no, it's big box style. They're turning people away as soon as you say the word suicide. They're like, and cut connection, get rid of them. They sign something saying, no, next person. And I think that can be dangerous. To turn therapists into a call center, I think lowers the standard and the expectation of the field. I think it can have a bad effect. I think it can be corrosive.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that if you lose privately owned private practice,
right,
then everything becomes a big box store.
Yeah, it's about efficiency, fast, get 1,000 patients in there a day. Like, think of how many clinics we know that are kind of bigger, and those therapists are really unhappy. Like, if you're a really, really good therapist, you're not trying to work at those bigger places because you will get ground up. Like, and then your caseloads and the expectations.
Or that's the only job you can get. Because you can't. A lot of people don't have the resources to come right out of graduate school and open up their own private practice.
Right. That's usually a veteran therapist, and you're really good at it.
Yeah, and so you have to really get your foot in anywhere you can.
Which could be good. I mean,
it
maybe
could be good.
CVS could be hiring up interns and putting them to work. That'd be great.
If they have a good training program.
Yeah.
That's the other piece to it too.
Yeah, no. So I think it can be positive, but to the writer, who's interested in this profession and is looking into this, and you think about the future of it, I do think this has a consequential aspect to things, and I do think we have to be paying attention when you see these gigantic companies trying to get into the owning of healthcare services. That can be great. I think the Minute Clinics are really great, and it can have a big impact on the profession. And that could be, if you're the most accessible thing, that creates the standard. If we ask most people in the public right now what they think therapy is, they are greatly influenced by what they think Better Help is. And that is a recent phenomenon in the last 5 years. And that can be good. But again, there's a race to the bottom mentality because these companies exist for efficiency and margins. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get as many patients as they can at the cheapest possible rate. If you're a therapist of any caliber, you're welcome to work here. Do you have a license on the wall? Great. Get in here and start taking patients. And that's difficult. And I've worked for telehealth. I worked for not like a Better Help style. It was insurance driven, so there was a much higher clinical standard. But there is no oversight in that at all. And I was horrified to find out some of the other therapists and what they were doing and how they were working. I was thinking, wow, I've told stories on the show about how off-putting it was. So I think there can be a race to the bottom, and that can be dangerous too. But also access, that's good. I like the access.
But there's some positive in it, and there's some potential negative
That's
in it.
That's what I'm saying. Sponsor the show, CVS and Better Help. Send us your money. We would love to plug it.
It's just like anything else. If it's set up well, it could be. It
can
be
done
nice
well. It can be done well. Kaiser does good work. Kaiser owns everything, and they also can do. They've also increased the standard of care in a lot of ways by bringing in like a higher level of like standard. That's fine. I'm good with that. But I want. But Kaiser is a healthcare company. CVS is a retailer.
I almost kind of feel like You need to address access to care first, and then from there, hopefully, we can address the problems that.
Yeah,
will
and I
arise
do
with
get
it.
a little bit queasy about corner store retailers who happen to have a pharmacy getting into the healthcare standard now. That's different. The healthcare industry is a different thing. You need to usually be licensed. Like, imagine that, Nick. Imagine doing site visits at a CVS, and you're like, "Hi, clerk. I'm therapist guy here to check on your clinic to make sure you're running HIPAA standards," and like
Well,
it gets a little bit mishy, man.
Yeah,
Like,
but they could still do it. I mean,
they can.
the standards wouldn't change. They have to adapt to those standards.
but do you see the novelty of this?
Sure,
Like,
yeah,
it's
I mean,
quite
it's-
the fact that CVS happens to have a pharmacy and pharmacists is not the same as providing healthcare services. And as these retailers are now entering healthcare delivery space, it is an interesting question. I would love them to have a partition. I would love them to say we have a separate sister company called CVS Healthcare Services that is independent of CVS Retailer Company. And we have different thinkers, different thought leaders, different standards, and one rent space to the other. That would make me a lot more comfortable.
It would be interesting to provide substance abuse counseling at a CVS.
Yeah.
So you can.
Eventually it's going to
they
be like,
can- no,
welcome
so
to
they
Joe's
can-
Tire,
no,
Lube,
so
and
they-
Rehab.
So
There's
they
a
can-
room
they
right
can
there
buy-
filled with drugs.
Exactly. They can buy the alcohol as they leave the appointment.
Yeah. We just give you
Yeah.
the card. Hey, by the way, welcome to the bar, and the back is a rehab.
Right.
Just seems like it gets a little muddy in there.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is like there's a locked door right there, and that locked door is between you and a pile of
a
opioids.
whole lot of pills. So good
And
question.
when I was in graduate school, my friend Matt and I had an idea. We had a whole bunch of business ideas. One of them was a bar/mental health clinic,
there you go.
and we were going to call it "Spill Your Guts."
I think most business ideas just come down to the name that
The
you were
name.
going to give
Exactly.
that business. It's just
Yeah.
all for the service of the pun. Whatever you
Yep.
were going for, I love it. Good question, writer, and good luck on your profession. And thank you for joining us after that Reddit AMA. Glad to have you as a listener. Welcome to the party. And good luck to you. And glad to hear that there's more people entering the profession. It's desperately needed. We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to answer a question about whether you should get into therapy. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop,
Nathan.
Dr. Ben Don,
Ben.
Scott Jameson,
Scott.
and Richard Macy.
I believe Ben now goes by Lord of Student Debt.
He does.
Yeah.
Correct. Would you like to sponsor the show and become a therapy producer? Do so at patreon.com/therapy.
We've
And
scared
our
away every potential sponsor.
Second.
Mary Kay, American Airlines, the breeding
And our
kink
next
community.
question. Here we go. What group smashed NSYNC's record for most CD sales in a week
What?
in 2000?
Oh, geez.
A. Nickelback. B.
Yeah, that's it.
Limp Bizkit. C. Mariah Carey. D. The Beatles.
2000.
If you'd like to join the Therapy Producers that make the show possible, go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. Again, that's patreon.com/therapy.
21 years ago.
CD sales.
CD sales in 1 week in 2000. NSYNC held the record until this week in 2000, and this group broke their record.
It shouldn't be the Beatles.
Nickelback, Limp Bizkit, Mariah Carey, or the Beatles.
So 21 years ago, the Beatles.
I'm going Beatles.
Really? It's going to be like a remastered collection, right? In 2000? It would have been like a hits.
Oh, no, they're still putting out new stuff.
I don't think they were.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
21 years ago? You think they
Oh,
were?
yeah.
Lennon was
Wow.
fucking churning shit out in the 2000s.
He was on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the ground.
they're still
Yeah,
hot.
yeah.
They're still hot.
Oh, yeah. Like, he was very into competition.
Like 6 feet deep. And
Yeah,
like he
yeah.
was knocking
Just to be
CDs
clear,
out
this is the guy
record.
that died, right?
No.
No. The Lennon? John? Is it John Lennon?
yeah.
He
It is
died,
John
didn't
He
he?
ran the USSR.
Yeah.
John Lennon?
Yeah.
That's
Lennon.
the same guy?
Yeah,
Wait,
Lennon.
what?
Yeah. Took over for Stalin.
No. The Beatle?
Yes.
No, shut up. The Beatles not the Russian guy. These are different people.
Lennon.
Lennon. You never heard of?
Like Leningrad?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck
they
you both.
they named the city.
Mariah Carey, final answer. It's going to be Mariah Carey. Because 21 years ago, I'll bet you it was that stupid Christmas song that they always play All I want for Christmas is you. Do you know that she makes like $1 million a year?
Oh, she makes
just
up more
in
than
royalties.
that. Like it's more than that.
I think it's got to be Mariah Carey.
I
want
think
it to
All
be
I
Limp
Want for
Bizkit.
Christmas Is You is basically continually the #1 song every
It's got to
holiday
be.
season.
It's got to be Mariah Carey.
That song just prints money.
She's the only thing in that list that could compete. Limp Bizkit,
My memory
I want to say
is
it was
that,
a big deal back
My
then.
memory is that the Beatles put out around that time a big CD collection,
Oh.
and the CD sales part of that.
Feels like that would have been where it came out.
I think I'm going Beatles.
Okay.
You're going to go Beatles, and you're going to stick with Mariah Carey.
I feel like he's right, but I want it to be Limp Bizkit.
Also, I just don't want it to be Nickelback.
It's not Nickelback. That was not the answer. There was no way.
I'm afraid it might be Nickelback. No,
It's
no,
not.
I'm afraid it's Nickelback.
No,
but I'm just hoping it's not.
Look at this photograph. I'm going Mariah Carey. Final answer.
Okay.
And he's going Beatles.
It is the Beatles.
Yes!
Damn it.
It was the
Yeah.
Beatles 1 album.
There you go. Yep. Oh, the red one.
Released,
Yep.
yep.
It was
Released
a
in
red
2000.
album cover.
Yep.
Yeah, that checks out. Dang, so it just,
I definitely have that album.
Re-release.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you, Beatles. Hang in there,
Yeah.
Paul McCartney.
And
Hang in there, Beatles. We know times have been tough, but hang
Times
in
have
there.
been tough. One day it's going to pick up. You just
Yeah.
keep swinging. We were talking about George Burns. You'll launch.
Jim-
You'll catch fire.
a couple of questions about the Beatles.
I've named them all before. You guys have asked me.
How many
I've gotten them
band
all.
members did the Beatles have?
4.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
See, I got this.
How many still survive?
You're not going to shame me.
How many are still alive?
Jesus, probably 1. I think it's Paul. Paul McCartney's still alive.
Okay,
That
so
dude's
Paul
still hanging in
McCartney.
there.
He's the only one?
John's dead. I don't care what you guys say. That guy's dead.
He was
Ringo-
killed by Stalin.
Ringo.
So, yeah, he's
is
dead.
Fascinating history, the Russians. Fascinating history. Maybe Ringo's alive. I don't know. Ringo's probably alive.
Ringo is definitely alive.
Ringo's he's the most alive out of all of
Yeah.
them.
He's hanging out.
Ringo is the Beatle who has won at life.
All right, yeah. He won the lottery.
Like he didn't give away $26 million or whatever it was to his ex-wife like
wow.
Paul did.
Yeah.
He didn't die like the other two.
Oh.
And the other two were who?
Lennon, he's dead.
His first name was?
I've gotten this before.
His first
I've
name
named
was?
it Johnny Lennon.
And,
That's what
and
we
the,
called
and
him.
the
in
final
the hood.
Beatle?
Ringo Starr, Paul McCartney,
Uh-huh.
and I got the other guy once. You guys have asked me this, and I got it.
Uh-huh.
I got it.
So you should be able to get it again.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
He had
you
like
just can't retain it.
No, God, no. He had like a really generic name. It was like George. Is that it, George? It was George.
George what?
George Harrison.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I remember that episode of Family Guy where Peter's trying to lie about his name. They come up to him like, what's your name? He goes, and he looks around, he starts naming things that he sees.
Oh, yeah.
And he says Peter Griffin. Like, 'cause he looks over and like this lady's like eating peas, he goes, pea. And like somebody's crying, goes, tear. And then like a giant griffin like flies across, he goes, Griffin. Yeah, Peter Griffin. He goes, crap, shit. That's how I do this. Yeah. George? Harry? Son? All right. Next question. Should I get into therapy? Hello, Pod Therapy. Really love your podcast and look forward to it every week. I've been wanting to write in for a while now. When I was a child, I had been emotionally abused by my brother. I'm still in the processing or realizing stage, and it's hard because what you thought was normal turns out was really not. I knew he was a jerk, but as I started looking at different articles, I saw the list of things, and it was spot on with emotional and psychological abuse, along with other semi-physical stuff like pinning down, not letting me go where I wanted, etc. It's been hard. And I'm normally an inward person. I don't really share a lot of my feelings, and I'm not really open. I never got asked how I felt about things as a kid, so I guess I'm just used to being closed off. I have been suffering from a bit of a depressed state. I'm not clinically diagnosed, but am very certain I have it, as I've had a few suicidal thoughts pass my mind. I'd like to go to a therapist, but I'm pretty scared I'm going to be honest, and I'm still considering it. Any advice or thoughts would be greatly appreciated. Bella. Okay. Oh, and side note, she writes, I've taken this test called ACE and scored a 6 out of 10 if that helps. Okay. The ACE. All right.
The ACE is the Adversive Childhood Experiences.
Yeah.
It's a screening tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Is that one of those tests that should be administered by a therapist, or is it fine to take on your own?
Typically, it's a screening tool administered by a therapist.
Okay.
Yeah, but
And
it's
that was-
publicly accessible.
It is.
like the DAST.
I don't know if it's...
Like, is it something that can be relied on if you take it on your own type thing?
It's probably pretty safe.
Okay.
I don't think there's going to be any problem.
So
kinda
not even like
taking it
grain
on
of
your
salt
own.
or anything, taking it on your own?
Don't change your life based on the answers.
Right.
But it's
Great.
I mean, it's one of those things that it's validating. Like when
Yeah.
you look at it and you go, oh, okay, so and this is one of the things that Bella writes about. You realize later on your childhood wasn't normal.
Right.
But you just thought that was the way it is. And then you go to other people's houses or you hear the people's stories and then you start connecting dots and you go, wait a minute. Oh, no, this is what I was like. And you tell that to other people and they're like, oh my God, are you okay? And you're like, yeah, I'm okay. But then you start to connect those dots.
I was before you asked me.
Yeah, now I'm suspicious. But that's where the ACE, I think, is really useful. And other kinds of tests like that, I think it does shine a light where people kind of, it makes them realize like, oh, geez, maybe this is more than I thought it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and 6 out of 10 is pretty significant.
Yeah, it is.
Regardless of how you're processing what's going on with your brother, you're talking about, should I get into therapy? And then you're talking about some, depressive symptoms that you're experiencing. And I think just that, when in and of itself, would lead me to believe, it wouldn't be a bad idea to talk to a therapist. A therapist at a minimum is going to help you kind of sort things out and help you figure out, what's a good starting point. What are the things, that because you got a lot of stuff that you're kind of working on and processing, and your therapist can help you identify, here's where we need to start, and it's probably going to be dealing with the depression first.
Yeah.
I mean, before you even get into some of the stuff, the experiences, the adversive childhood experiences, and with your brother and all of that, we're going to probably start with addressing the depression. Finding some healthy coping skills to deal with that. Maybe that's pharmacology. Maybe that's a referral to a psychiatrist for some sort of antidepressant, which isn't anything to be afraid of.
No.
Though that's pretty normal. It's widely accepted. It's very effective. So
Yeah.
That along with talk therapy can be very, very helpful.
I think so. And, the thing that the writer says here that Bella, I noticed, is where you say, so listen, I'm like a pretty inward person. I generally keep to myself. It's kind of, and I've been taught most of my life not to share my feelings. I think that's why you're telling us a little bit about your history, that I've been taught that they don't matter and like I should be closed off and generally regret it whenever I've revealed things. And I think a lot of people, first off, Bella, relate to you when it comes to that. And I think that can be a very intimidating thing when you think, okay, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to talk to a therapist. And I've had a lot of patients over the years that it's almost, it's not funny, but it's ironic. They don't want to tell me how they feel. They don't want to tell me about their stuff. And I'm like, that's what we're here to do. And I get it.
How does that make you feel?
Shut up. Who, it's not your business. No, it literally is. Like that is what my business card says. And it's interesting because they have been taught by life, by family, by people, by relationships that their opinion doesn't matter. And they've conditioned themselves to not be comfortable revealing it, sometimes not even be aware of it. And that can be something that we need, actually, Bella, to overcome. And it can be intimidating. I get it. I think you're going to walk in there and be like, oh, geez, I don't feel comfortable with this. I'm not used to this. I don't know how to share.
It's going to be weird.
It is going to be a little bit weird. It's going to be a fish out of water thing. But remember that we're trained to help you with that. We're trained to cultivate that. And, we don't come at you full force and put you into the deep water. We're going to do this step by step. Mm-hmm. And that's very typical. And I think whenever you sit down with that therapist and you explain, I've never done this before. I'm here because I've been dealing with some depression. I'm here because I know I have some past stuff from my childhood, and I'm just trying to feel better and try to get help. They're going to work with that. And I think they're going to help you take those first tentative steps. And sometimes, Bella, that's what we're doing in therapy is we're learning how to talk about our truth.
And I think, so in the Patreon part of today's show, Jim talked about his plans for the weekend, renting a boat.
Rent a boat. I'm on a boat.
And to kind of use that as an analogy, if you are going into therapy and you're like, I've never done this before, I've never done therapy before, it's kind of like if you're renting a boat and you're going to go onto a boat and you're like, I've never driven a boat before, I'm very nervous. You just need to understand that your therapist is the boat captain.
Yeah.
You aren't going to be expected to drive the boat.
No, you're a passenger.
Yeah, you're just going to
enjoy the ride.
Yeah, you just get in there. Your therapist knows what they're doing. Let them drive the boat. They can handle that. And then sooner or later, eventually what's going to happen is you're going to start take control of that. You're going to start driving the boat, but you're going to have supervision there, and you're going to kind of learn how to do this on your own.
Yeah.
And then the captain's going to get off, and then you're going to be able to drive this thing by yourself. But there's nothing that you're going to be expected to do in the very first session other than show up and just be as honest as you can.
Also, you talk about being a little scared and having had negative repercussions when you've shared these experiences in your past. That's sharing them with peers. That's sharing them possibly with family members, with friends, and all of that. You're paying the therapist to be good at that. A good person there for you to share that with.
Right.
That's their gig. That's the whole job.
Right.
Is for them to be able to sit there, listen to those issues, listen to those concerns that you have, and the problems that you have, and help you through those.
Right.
And help you get through those. That's the gig. It is not like sharing these problems and these concerns with a friend.
No, not at all. And that's the message I think all three of us want to send to you, Bella. It's our job. That's my job. You come into my session, that's my job. My job is to make you feel comfortable. My job is to facilitate this. My job is to ask you the questions that need to be asked in the timing that would work for you. My job is to earn the right to ask those questions. My job is for you to feel comfortable. And I think that's one thing that people are often surprised about is they look at this process and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sit with a therapist and I'm going to open up about my stuff, all the secrets that I keep to myself, all the thoughts, all the pain. I'm supposed to open this up. How? And it's terrifying. I think a lot of people are. And I think a lot of people are pleasantly surprised to discover that one of the things that sets us apart as professionals is not just our book learning about mental health stuff. It's the demeanor. It's the training that we have to put you at ease and still somehow get to these interesting things. And for you to actually come out of that going, holy shit. I just opened up about a lot of stuff. How did that happen? I never do that. And you'll be surprised. And that's our job. We train for that. And so I think you'll find that it's a very gentle experience. Like Nick said, you're the passenger. Your job's to show up, I always tell my patients, I want you to do three things while you're here. Be honest, be open-minded, be willing. That's it. HOW, that's how you do therapy. Be honest, open-minded, willing. You show up, sit down, and we just get to know each other. It helps if you come in with some thoughts. It helps if you come in and share your truth with us. Tell us why you're there. But Bella, I hope that you go forward with it.
Well, and the other thing too to remember is that on session 1, you're not going to just open up about everything and throw everything out on the table.
No,
you're going to do it at a pace that's comfortable for you.
That's right.
And it's going to be one piece at a time. So that's something to consider too.
It'll come up organically. Yeah. I always tell my patients during the intake session, I tell them, today we're here to read the cover of the book and maybe to glance at the table of contents. I want to know what's inside. But we're not going page by page yet. We're not getting into this yet. We're not turning any pages. I'm just looking at the front and I'm reading the cover. That's it. And then we're looking at the table of contents. I just want to know what this is going to be about. And then we discover as we go. So that's your job, Bella, and I hope that you'll go. It sounds like, listen, friend, whenever somebody's dealing with depression and you're sharing with us, I've had suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
You need to go now.
Then we want you to go.
Yeah, I want you to go. I want you, when you hear this, I want you to turn this off because you probably shouldn't be listening to Pod Therapy anyway. It's just never a good idea. But also, I want you to go ahead immediately and call your insurance, ask for a provider list of therapists in your network, and immediately I want you to start going through that, find somebody, and get an appointment. When you're dealing with depression and having suicidal thoughts, that is not something you're supposed to sit with. That is something you are supposed to respond to immediately. And remember, friends, if any of you out there are having suicidal thoughts and feeling like maybe you're unsafe, you shouldn't be sitting here wrestling with the idea of whether to go to therapy. You should be going as soon as possible. And if you need to, you can call 911 and you can just talk to the dispatch, let them know that you're not feeling well.
If it's an emergency,
call
it's
now.
An emergency.
That's right. Call. It's okay. And that they're not going to, do anything negative. It's about getting help. It's about being safe. That's really important.
And also, worst case scenario. If you go to therapy, worst case scenario is you're not going to like it and you're not going to go back.
That's true. Well, worst case scenario is the therapist is packing heat and plugs you in the chest when you get up out of your chair too fast.
Okay. Realistic worst case scenario.
Go to patreon.com/therapy to find out what the hell we're talking about.
Realistic worst case scenario, you're not going to like it and you're not going to go back and you're going to waste an afternoon.
That's true.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Or get shot.
Best case scenario is you're gonna feel better. You're going to be happier.
That's right.
You're going to enjoy life more. That's a fine gamble to take.
Yes.
Worst case, I lose an afternoon when I could have been sitting around at my house feeling shitty.
Yeah.
And now I'm somewhere else feeling shitty.
I talked to
Best
somebody
case,
for an hour.
I feel better.
That's right. Don't hold back.
Yeah. Just go give it a shot.
All right.
There's no losing giving it a shot.
But Bella, go and remember, it's okay to call for help if you need that. You can also Google the suicide hotline. I think that's really important.
1-800-273-8255.
That's right.
There you go.
Yep. And so remember, if you're ever struggling, give them a call. Okay. Their job is to help you through that and to tell you what the warning signs are and to make sure that you're okay. But thank you so much for writing in. Thanks for listening to the show. And once you go get help, I want you to send us another letter. And I want you to tell us, hey, guys, I did what you said, and here's what's going on. Give us an update. We love to hear those kinds of stories.
We love
it means
updates.
a lot to us. So, Bella, wishing you well. And it's going to get better, friend. Lean in, okay? Lean in. This gets better. So we're at the end of the show, and we have a special little review here to read, I think.
It's more of a follow-up, I guess.
Okay, we got a follow-up.
Kind of a review.
It's in the review section.
I didn't know where to
of
put it. I just kind of
fine.
threw it in there. So
yeah, our scripts don't make any sense anyway. Follow-up letter, meditation. Hello, I'm listening to your podcast for the first time, and I'm really enjoying it so far. But I was disappointed to hear that you're misinformed about what meditation is. In the episode about rumination, one of you, probably Nick, by the way, equated meditation to ignoring your fears and anxious thoughts, which is literally the exact opposite of what mindfulness meditation teaches you to do.
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I
do remember the question.
We've talked about mindfulness meditation a few times.
We probably misstated it. But anyway, also, there was some talk about clearing your mind in reference to meditation. And again, that is not what it's about. A clearer mind is a side effect that happens when you meditate, but it is not the goal. And it is certainly not about you sitting there trying to ignore or suppress your thoughts. Mindfulness meditation is about paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and sensations non-judgmentally. That is very true. You are paying more attention, not less, and are not ignoring anything. People with anxiety still struggle with it for many reasons, so you are correct that it's not the right thing to recommend to everyone, but I urge you to research more about it and avoid spreading misinformation because it can be so helpful, especially in combination with therapy. It's not in any way contrary to CBT. No, good feedback. Yeah. And that is mindfulness meditation.
Right.
Also, we will continue to spread misinformation because we have podcast power. That's always going to happen.
That's the gig.
What do you think we do here?
Here's the thing: we're not going to sit here and point fingers because if we did, we'd point them at Jim.
That's ridiculous.
But we're not going to do that.
No, because we're better than that.
We're gonna just
sit here and take our medicine. Yeah, mindfulness meditation is about non-judgmentally seeing your truth. Yep, very true. Thank you for writing in, and great advice. And everybody should be continuing to practice things like that for self-care. So we are at the end of the show, and again, we do record this one a little bit early, so if you've joined us at patreon.com/therapy, we're getting a few episodes ahead because we have summer plans. We're trying to just continue to be ahead of the recording schedule. But remember, if you go to our Twitter account and you've become a Patreon at any level, we always shout out to you immediately after you become a Patreon, like same day. We always thank you on our Twitter at PodTherapyGuys. That's kind of our go-to social media. And then we will at some point always acknowledge anybody who's joined us at patreon.com/therapy when our next recording comes out that we've caught that. So as of today, we are also going to thank all of our theropods. Since this is the first episode of the month, we always thank all of our theropods, therodactyls, and theroproducers. And so we want to thank all the theropods. We want to thank Charlie Quinn Starling, who was a wonderful guest. That was a great episode. Nate McLaughlin, Lauren, that Josh guy, Ian Soto, Lauren Dotson, Jessica Cyphers, Rocco, Heather, Adam Petanuzzo, Mats Lenegren, I Have the Neck, Take It Evie podcast, Lauren Izzo in the Hizzo, Chelsea Lamb. Chelsea, we got your letter, by the way. I'm excited to read that in a future episode. That was a really good one. Felicia Butler, David Sorensen, Todd Canfield, Elliot Lamb, Matthew Nair, Adam Rabiznik, spelt just like it sounds, Jim Hunter, Katie Chiwakowski, James K., Okie Scoop, Chelsea Saracen, also a wonderful guest. We had her 2 summers ago. Scoopy Jess, Don Dorr, Scoopatron, Richard Bruns, Joseph Pengrazio, Carrie Terhark, a.k.a. Nick's sister, Brooks Lyle, Chasey Replogle, a.k.a. my mom, Craig Little, Gavin Bristow, Brad Kefauver, Scoopaholic, Jeffrey Ackerman, love that guy. Kate Keller, love her. She's the resident artist of, she's also working on the Bat Mom for Mother's Day shirt. Okay. That's coming around for next year. Stacy, oh wait, hold on, I skipped a whole line. Scoopstronaut, Lori Eltzroth, love ya, Shayla Bullock, Ian Whitefall, Stacy Westerland, Stacy Coleman, Linda Brandmeier, and Corey Owens.
And thank you to all of our therodactyls, Samantha T., Sapphire, Tori Snyder, Robert Ward, Scott Ashlock, Ryan Stewart, Slurpee Kaye Motherfucker, Angie Ellis, Andrea Anderson, Cindy Ash, Lindsay Bashara, Fred Bashara Jr., Frozen Cusser, David Pollock, Ice Blue Scoop, Tess Miller, Scott Brady, Brian Lehman, and Robert Paulson.
So the other day I went to a Knights game, first time in years, and it was like a teacher appreciation thing, so we got discount tickets, so we finally went. It was the night they were giving out the Fleury statues. Have you seen these? These limited edition statues?
I was at that game.
Were you really?
When he made that save. I was at that game.
Oh, wow.
It was against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, that the thing depicts.
Yeah, I was sitting, I think it was my friend's season tickets, and we were like 16 rows up.
Are you talking about,
on that
is this
side.
the famous save where he
dove across?
That's my cover picture in my Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is glorious.
I was at that. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Best
I
save
saw
in
it
NHL
because
history.
I was at the angle where the guy, the Maple Leaf had the puck, and the net was wide open.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, here we go. And I saw it. And I just, at the last second, he just dives across.
Oh, my gosh.
It was the coolest thing ever.
That was amazing.
It's amazing.
So we go there, and they have these statues, which they are only given away like for one game or two games.
Yeah.
And so that was the game. And so there was a statue on each of our chairs. We're like, oh, my God. So we got these things, these collectors. And as I'm at the game, I'm tweeting like, oh, I'm at this game. Andrea Anderson and her husband, they are the biggest Knights fans you'll ever meet in history. They have tattoos of the Knights on their arms. Like they're absolutely sold out, and they live in Tennessee. She immediately messages me. She's like, I will give you money for your statue. Get the statue. I was like, all right.
That's fine. Just go to Patreon.
Yeah, that's right. She's already patroning us. Yeah. But it was funny because I messaged her.
Also,
like,
I want one of these statues.
I know, right? And I was like, I will try to see. So the people we were sitting next to were Blues fans, and we were playing the Blues. So the show's over. We won. We crushed them. And they're getting up, and they left their statues. And so I'm like, hey, is it cool if I take? And they're like, yeah, we don't want these. And I was like, oh my God. So I snagged 2 extra statues, and I'm sending one to Andrea. So
good.
Thank you for sponsoring the show, Andrea.
And
go. Jacob wants the other one.
Yes!
I gave one to my babysitter. So F you. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Oh,
Sorry,
all right.
bud.
Okay.
He's shutting down the studio. Hold on down.
All right. Looks like it's just Jacob and I now. If you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited.
And why wouldn't you?
And enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health. That's all the time we've got for this week's session. We want to thank our landlords, the Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it by opening this episode's description in your podcast app and copying and pasting the link provided into your social media. Don't forget, you can find us on Facebook.com/therapy, on Twitter @PodTherapyGuys, and now at Patreon.com/therapy. Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapy@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Jacob, the audio guy.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Woo!
Good show.
Yeah, very good. Strong ending.
Strong ending.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
See ya!
Bye.